Something insane just happened. The Nintendo Ninjas are going to be very active. It looks like we have a sequel to the big, huge Nintendo Gigaleak. For those who are unfamiliar with the matter, a few years back, stemming between the years of 2018 and 2020, there were a series of leaks of private Nintendo information. Nintendo hardware, prototypes, games, source code, internal documents, ROMs, all of that was getting leaked. Supposedly, over 2 terabytes of information got out there. And now it looks like over a terabyte of information relating to Pokémon has gotten out there. Someone has obtained access to one of Nintendo's portals apparently, and has leaked a whole bunch of Pokémon information. But what's insane about this is that this information is telling us about a whole bunch of things from the past that people are still sifting through and will be sifting through for the next few days, but also about upcoming new big Pokémon projects, including Generation 10, and something else that's extremely surprising, and yes, also, there are details about Nintendo Switch 2. So that's what we're discussing today on AndresRestart. And now, here is a brief message about today's sponsor. Snaxy is the ultimate Android gaming mobile app where you can earn incredible rewards from over 100,000 options while playing your favorite mobile games. And it also helps publishers acquire new users. Every gaming session with Snaxy is rewarding, with over 100,000 items like gift cards, game skins, and in-game coins. Integrate Snaxy into your routine for non-stop gaming, personalized recommendations, generous rewards, and frequent content updates. For more on the Snaxy app, check out the link in the description below. Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and we have so much to talk about today. And this is a developing story. More and more information is getting out there. The source codes for Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Pokemon Black and White 2 have apparently gotten out there, as well as Pokemon Platinum. And now a whole bunch of Generation 4 and 5 beta sprites are surfacing. We even have long-term anime and movie details getting out there. And I'm not going to be sharing any imagery from any of this. I will be sharing some links to some social media pages on Twitter and a couple articles that may be showing indication and helping to verify that all of this is indeed getting leaked and true. But I will not be sharing where this information is originally coming from, and there will be no imagery, or else the Nintendo Ninjas will also come for me. But there's a lot of interesting information that's getting out there. Apparently a whole terabyte is out there, but currently we're only looking at about 4 gigabytes. We're seeing different code names for different Pokemon projects. One of the projects is Ikaku, the already announced Pokemon Legends ZA, which we've already heard before from the Riddler, which does suggest that the credibility of the Riddler perhaps shouldn't be in as much question as it has been over this last year. So some of the things they've been talking about might have more credence than you may realize, and we will be circling back to that a bit later. But another codename that's gotten out there is for Synapse. This apparently is a collaborative project between Gamefreak, Pokémon Company, and ILCA. At first, a lot of us were freaking out because there was a file name that said MMO, which is leading many of us to believe that Synapse is an MMO project, a massive multiplayer online Pokemon game, which sounds insane, but also many people are growing concerned because they don't have a lot of faith in Pokémon Company or Game Freak or ILCA. But it looks like that file is not related to this project here. But what we are hearing about this project is that it's meant to be a Splatoon-like experience, an action battle Splatoon-like experience. So I think that could actually be something quite amazing, and it may end up still being a pretty significant multiplayer online experience from Nintendo. Now some people are upset that they are seeing another game being made by ILCA, but I think ILCA gets a bit of a bad rap here. One, their games are actually all pretty solid. I would even say Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Yes, I recognize and agree that the Generation 4 remake, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, could have been better. It's lackluster compared to prior remakes like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire or Heart Gold Soul Silver. But perhaps it wasn't even up to ILCA to add new content and features. Essentially, they just remade Generation 4 with a little bit more. And what they did make wasn't terrible. So I do think in a more collaborative effort with Gamefreak, they can probably put something together that could be even better. And they've made other exciting, interesting games, like Sandland and One Piece Odyssey. They're also currently working on an Ace Combat game. So they've been known to make actually a decent variety of games that all look to be quite fun. So I think this game could actually be very interesting. And just speaking on the codename, and let me make myself clear, when it comes to codenames, oftentimes it's very hard to extrapolate what the codename may sort of suggest about the game. But in an effort to guess, I would guess that since synapse means a structure that allows for neurons to pass different electrical or chemical signals within your nervous system so you can move around and react, perhaps that's supposed to suggest some sort of energetic, fast-paced, multiplayer action game. It's going to be about having fast responses, and that could be something really cool. So I'm very interested to see what this project may end up being. Before we continue on though, let me quickly ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Anyway, there is another codename we need to talk about here, and that's Gaia. This is the codename for the 10th generation of Pokémon. I believe this is coming out in 2026, but now some people are calling into question when this game might actually be coming out. Now, from the codename of Gaia, many people are starting to assume that the new region is based off Greece, because Gaia is the name of the Greek goddess of Earth. And so this is actually very fascinating, because I would say this is a hard suggestion for the next region of Pokémon. And this could mean we could be seeing different legendary Pokémon that might have to do with the Greek gods. Maybe there will be an electric flying legendary like Zeus, a dark fire like Hades, and maybe a water or even ice like Poseidon. That feels like a very plausible theory. And with this new information in mind, and also with the revelation that Ikaku is indeed the codename for Pokemon Legends ZA, going back to the Riddler, a few days back, they were talking about a hint for a Pokemon project, and they put the praying or hands together emoji. And they talked about how this is for a big Pokemon project, but it's not Legend ZA. And so there was some speculation that this hand emoji might have something to do with like some sort of religious-based region. Maybe Italy because of the Vatican, maybe China, but Greece actually also makes a lot of sense because Greece is known for their mythology, their gods, a very widely spoken of religious belief system from the past. But also looks like we have another interesting hint from the Riddler. Today, shortly after news of this big new leak came out, the Riddler said, "New project hint. You knew its codename today from you know where. Too much water." And for those who are unfamiliar with the reference, there is this infamous review from IGN where they gave a lower score for Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because it had too much water. That was one of the negatives suggested by the review. And so the implication being is that this new Pokemon project is going to be based off a region surrounded by a lot of water, and that actually fits pretty well with Greece. So yes, it seems really likely based off these hints from the Riddler, who now seems to have restored their credibility, and also this literal leak of the codename of Generation 10 that, yeah, suggests that Greece is the region, which sounds like a really fun, exciting region. But we have even more to discuss regarding this leak. And this brings us to the Nintendo Switch 2 part of the equation. It looks like we've gotten even more confirmation that the codename for Nintendo Switch 2 is Ounce. Now, initially, Nintendo put out some tweets talking about this leak, which really helped to popularize the leak on Twitter, but has since deleted those tweets. And with his initial tweets, he was talking about the codename and said ounces instead of ounce. Now the tweets have all been deleted, but I believe Nintendo did say he made an error and just meant to put ounce. And other places have suggested that the codename is just ounce, as we had seen in the past. But there's a little bit of that confusion that's going around right now. But with this codename in mind, can this tell us anything about Nintendo Switch 2? Well, one, there was some debate if maybe the codename was just OZ as in Oz and maybe not Ounce, but the overwhelming thing that's being discussed here from the leak is that it's Ounce. And if it is Ounce, can there be anything that we can take away from that can give us a hint towards the console? I would say unlikely, but I'm going to try anyway. We look at some prior Nintendo console codenames, like Project Cafe for Wii U. I don't know how I interpret that, but maybe you could look at it as Project Cafe, a calm, soothing environment, relaxing. Perhaps the Wii U was meant to give a cafe-like environment wherever it would be. Might seem a little bit like a stretch, but that's my best guess. Going back to Nintendo Revolution, that one was pretty obvious with the Wii because they were trying to revolutionize the game industry with motion controls. They completely changed how we would play games, at least for a single generation, but motion controls did stick around. And then I also remember the code name for Nintendo GameCube, which was Dolphin. Now, how does Dolphin relate to GameCube? Well, I mean, the GameCube is vastly more powerful than the Nintendo 64, and dolphins are highly intelligent creatures and also move quickly throughout the water, so perhaps it was hinting towards that, just a more powerful console that could run games extremely well and also load very quickly, something the GameCube was known for. And there were also some early GameCube games that had a lot to do with water, like Mario Sunshine and Wave Race Blue Storm, that had some pretty sophisticated water graphics and physics. There was Wind Waker 2, an entire Zelda game based off exploring the ocean. There might be something to what I'm talking about here, but I'm gonna fully admit it feels a little bit like a stretch. But going back to Ounce, me making the best stretch I can here to something that might connect. Perhaps Ounce has something to do with them working on a bigger, more powerful console, but also trying to have it be light. The Switch 2, from what we've heard, is going to have an 8-inch screen and be significantly larger than the Switch 1. But perhaps they want to design it in a way where it also feels quite light to hold, like just an ounce. It probably won't actually literally be an ounce, but maybe it will be surprisingly light. That's the best stretch I can think of when it comes to the codename. But there is still even more to discuss here from these leaks. On Twitter, Necrofelipe pointed this out. HAC with a whole bunch of X's is the Switch 1 product code. Simple. Both ZA and Gaia list HAC as a launchpad. Gaia also lists Ounce. Unless Gamefreak drops Switch 1, Gen 10 project is cross-gen. So basically what Necrofelipe is telling us here from the leaks is that Legend ZA is being made for Nintendo Switch 1, and Gaia is being made for Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2, from what we can extrapolate of the leaks. Now, there's been a lot of conversation that Pokémon Legends ZA might be a cross-gen title. And what's interesting about this is that apparently, from before the February presents, there was already a running build of the game, and there's some debate if it might have even been playable. And yet, we haven't seen any gameplay of the game yet. That seems a bit strange to me. I think it's likely that it wasn't a final build, but still perhaps an advanced build, and they've been spending time working on the game even more so, expanding it and polishing it up. But also, if the game was in such a near final state early this year, then maybe they could have shown the game off this year, and they haven't because perhaps they are saving it for Switch 2. Which kind of goes against these leaked files here. But what I'm getting at is that just because we don't see anything listing ZA having a Switch 2 version doesn't mean there might not be some sort of update also planned later down the road. And if Switch 2 is backwards compatible, they can still feature Legend ZA in the marketing somewhat. And recently, the Riddler did say Ikaku soon and then pre-odd as in pre-order, suggesting that pre-orders will go up for Legend ZA soon, also suggesting that we're about to get a whole bunch of information about this game. And a lot of us are expecting a Switch 2 reveal in October. And also, there is essentially zero precedent for any kind of Pokemon Presents to happen this late into the year. So either A, the Riddler suggesting Legend ZA information is coming soon as in this February soon, which is 4 months from now, so I feel like that's unlikely. Or they mean that we're going to see it soon, maybe it's going to be part of the Switch 2 reveal, or there is just going to be some sort of Pokemon Legend Z related announcement happening pretty soon. And actually, this is me here jumping in during editing because we got another update. There are more leaks regarding Pokemon Legends ZA. So apparently, Pokemon Legends ZA was scheduled for a winter 2024 release, but they postponed it for some reason. And there have been designs made for the Pokemon anime for Mega Zygarde and Mega Zeraora, suggesting that these Mega Evolutions will also be in Pokemon Legends ZA since they did tease very blatantly Mega Evolutions to be returning. But there's also talk of Generation 10 having 2 versions, and there is some concern that this means that Generation 10 is coming out in 2025 and not 2026. I think just because we're seeing that the codename for this game has 2 different versions in the works, I don't think that should tell us that the game's coming out next year. This is information that's been leaked. We weren't meant to have seen this. So we probably still have to wait quite a bit before we see Generation 10. I'm going to assume we don't see it until early 2026 and it comes out holiday 2026. But who knows, with the whole Switch 2 situation going on, maybe they want to at least show it off a bit sooner, maybe it comes out a little bit earlier to 2026. But then, from all the signs we've seen with Legends ZA, it doesn't seem like it's coming out in the first half. So I would say the Generation 10 is still probably coming out in 2026 for the 30th anniversary. And going back to the point that all this leaked information isn't meant to be seen by the public eye, I would like to stress that while this is all indeed legitimate information that's getting out there, it does not guarantee that what we're talking about is going to materialize in the exact same way. For example, we are seeing some evidence to suggest that there are 2 versions for Pokemon Generation 10, but maybe the Switch version is just for testing and they're just considering it and it won't actually be the final one. Maybe there will only be just a Switch 2 version of Generation 10. We should not 100% assume that it's going to show exactly as what may be suggested here. And I would also say the same applies for Legends ZA. We're only seeing a Switch 1 version, but is it not possible that they may also start developing a Switch 2 version at some point? Could be. So take these different codenames and things as pretty good hints as to what may be happening, but not 100% information as to what will actually make it out to market. Because when it comes to game development, there's a lot of fluidity and there are things that are subject to change. One last bit of info I'll mention here that I didn't get around to doing earlier. Pokemon Generation 10, codename Gaia, not only may it have a Switch 2 and Switch 1 version, but also just your typical Pokemon game versions, like Red and Blue, Scarlet and Violet. In this case, the codename suggests there's a version K and a version N. Make of that what you will. And that's pretty much all the main points I want to cover for this particular video. This is a developing story, more information's getting out there. If I find it relevant for the channel, I will be covering it. But yes, this is some pretty intense stuff. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.